Are you ready?
Good news, everyone!
I'm the surprise in your cereal box. I'm
great! Everybody else sucks!
I said, are you ready?
Yes, sir, random kid I just met.
It's Ciely.
Hooray! People are paying attention to me.
That's right! You're always blaming me!
So, my reputation exceeds me.
It's time to check the link.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
You know what? You just made the list.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn!
What is up, you ducks? It is All in Football live on FTN Network. As a reminder off the top, if you want to go to FTN and get involved with all the second half betting for baseball, all the advice, welcome to one of the biggest in the biz. We got DVOA now over at FTN. It's code ALLIN. Get you 20% off over there. And over the Athletic, the draft kit is full. The draft kit's live. Like the projections, the customizable projection has been out. But now everything's out. Now everything's out there. The magazine's out, which if you get the magazine, there's a QR code in it, so you get the updates on the website, so it's not like you got a magazine from 17 years ago. All that's out, and I think it's $2 a month still right now. The ranks, quick question for you, Meaney. Like when I sat down and came to it, we've talked about it a lot on this show. It is Chris Meaney, by the way. I think everybody knows that at this point, but just in case. At Chris Meaney, at All in Good for myself. But when it came down to going through the ranks, it happened because we had a discussion on the Athletic Fantasy Football show, and we were going through strategies on that. We were asking, Welsh was asking, would you go RB? Would you go wide receiver? Like, we know what you would like to do, but, if presented with these options, how much do you want to veer away from them when the value's on the board? And he asked if you go RB, and what your position would be. And I'm curious your answer. My answer was that I would like to be at the end of the first round and hit, a Barkley if he slides with a Chubb. Ideal scenario is what Welsh said. A Chubb Barkley, even a Henry with Barkley or Chubb or Stevenson, who's kind of getting to the middle of the second round. He's starting to finally move up more, but kind of those two back-end RB1s. And the interesting thing I thought was just why I want to see which side you land on is when it came to Funston's answer, he said if he did it, he'd prefer to be on the McCaffrey side of it and McCaffrey Eckler and come back around and potentially get the last RB1 left. So which position would you would you rather hit it at the very front end of the draft, or would you rather hit it at the right back end of the draft? Are you more on my side where you get two top 8 guys, or are you more on his side where maybe you get 1 and 12 or 2 and 12?
I think I'd rather the back. I think I'd rather the back and get two top 10 guys like a Chubb. Get a Chubb and potentially a Jacobs. You do a Chubb Jacobs, Chubb Stevenson. That's kind of where I'm at. I did a draft already on Sirius, and I was in the 3 spot. And by the time it came back to me, there was just Breece Hall. Ramondre had just gone, who I was in on, and Breece Hall. Now there's all kinds of question marks surrounding his health and if Dalvin Cook's going to be there. But I felt like that tier went. So it was just Breece Hall for me or Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, which is fine. But I think I'd rather give me those true bell cows at the back end. Chubb and a Jacobs or a Stevenson. I'm gonna do a little bit of a mock from Fantasy Pros live on Mean Streets today, and I just practiced this morning just to see you get prepared for the show how it's gonna fall. And I know not every draft is gonna be like this, but the draft when I mocked it last night, the first 10 picks, 9 were backs. At pick 11 was Jamar Chase. It's that's just not gonna happen. I don't think in a regular draft, but if it did, then you would have to pick in the middle to get those backs. Because if you picked at the end in a mock like that, the 10th pick is RB9. You know what I mean? At that point, it's a little strange.
I'm actually really glad you said that, because that ties into what I was about to say too. Is the whole source of this, and we'll probably talk about it on the SiriusXM show. Reminder, 9 a.m. this Saturday as well. We did all our strategies, but this is kind of a different look at strategies. We're going to get to sleepers on the show. We're going to get to tight ends today. Finally, we're hitting tight ends. Yay, tight end show. But what comes down to is I don't believe you either that it's going to be 8, 9, 10 running backs within the first round. Travis Kelce's going to go. Jefferson's going to go. Chase is going to go. A lot of people have Kupp third. I have Kupp first. But however you want to parse it out, Like, and what I came down to is why I pushed against Funston. I said, because your strategy wasn't even my mind. This is why. Because I'm not taking Eckler at 2, 3, 4. So if I'm going RB, it has to be McCaffrey, and then it has to be the 12th pick on the way back, because I'll get your opinion on this. You know me. I want my bell cow running back in the first 2 rounds, but I'm not doing Eckler this year. I'm not doing Eckler at the 2, 3, 4. I would actually start a draft if I did the entire first round. My first round, I made every single pick. My draft would go McCaffrey, and it would go Kupp, Jefferson, Chase. And that's never happened for me before. I would go 3 straight wide receivers before I came back to Eckler at 1-5.
And I mean, I have the same overall. I mean, I don't have same sort of deal. I don't have CMC first. I have the 3 wide receivers in JJ, Chase, and Kupp, and then I would dive into CMC, and then I get back into the wide receiver pool, and Eckler's like 6 or 7 for me. Yeah. So I'm more of the alpha to start, and I got Chubb kind of ranked aggressively. Again, it's a conversation for another day, but I still kind of get a little uneasy when I see Bijan Robinson go at like pick 7 ahead of Saquon and Taylor and Jonathan Taylor. And then I saw somebody last night tweet like over under for Bijan Robinson rushing yards this year, like 1,500. The expectations for this guy is just through the roof.
Through the roof. Not only through the roof.
Yards, he's busting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just, people are drafting him, expecting him to be the number 1 overall running back. I really do fully believe that. By picking him 7th overall, the fantasy community is telling me that he is going to have a very similar season as CMC or Eckler, and he's in that tier. Yeah, historic.
Well, and to go back to, he's going to have a CMC or a Saquon Barkley rookie year. Like, to go back to their rookie seasons. Like, that's what we're going to kind of, or like Barkley's rookie season when he beat out CMC. But that
I went back and looked at the amount of running backs that had 1,500 rushing yards over the last 10 years, and there are only 8 backs that have done it, and it's happened 10 times, and like Henry's done it a couple times. Like, it is... And the expectations are pretty high to say 1,500 rushing yards, maybe 1,500 total yards.
That's what I got in this argument with you, not argument, but debate with you guys, and then again on the Athletics show, is why we had the Chubb discussion. You're on Team Chubb too. Is what the whole point was. If he did Nick Chubb 2022, we'd be ecstatic, and that's a hell of a season. And Nick Chubb just did it, and Nick Chubb just did it with. Like I said, he's not even rusty. Like, this is pieces falling off. This is the bike's been in the garage for 17 years. And, oh, look, Dad had a bike when he was 50,000 years old. And like, there's like the chain doesn't even work anymore. That's how rusty Deshaun Watson was. Like, so he's doing that with that offense and Deshaun Watson. So all for Nick Chubb. But to Jiggle's point here is, like he says, the high-end RB1s are wonky if Jake is saying wide receiver. It's not even so much just that. It's that Christian McCaffrey's on an island for me. Like, he's just he's hanging out there, and then right at Austin Eckler, what's the difference? Like, conceivably, if either of these guys, or actually I said, let's say any of these guys finish RB2, would we be shocked? Eckler, Taylor, Barkley, Chubb, Jacobs, Bijan, Henry, Pollard, Stevenson. If any of them finish number 2, we wouldn't be shocked. And that's my point. Is like, that's why I'm not taking Eckler at 1-2 or even 1-1, is because what's the difference between Eckler and Stevenson? Nada, in my opinion. Like, they're like basically the exact same. Touchdown fluctuation will probably depend.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, the one thing with Eckler, I guess, is just you definitely know that the receiving work is going to be there, where there could be some question marks with some of the other guys. But I mean, I totally agree. I think it's CMC. He's been on his own island for a few years, man. When he's healthy, he's the best in football. And where he went to San Fran, it's just the perfect match for him. The way that Kyle Shanahan utilizes his running backs. I think he played 14 games with the Niners, and he was a touchdown per game guy. And he was just like an automatic 100 total yards. He's just, is what it is. I wonder if Shanahan will have some games where he uses a little bit of Elijah. We saw that last year, maybe to keep both of these guys fresh. They got Super Bowl aspirations, but that's just maybe nitpicking a little bit too much.
It is. And shout out to, who's this Jay Felicio guy in our chat, by the way? Well, this Chris Meaney guy.
Hey, Jay, we'll see you in a couple of weeks in NYC.
That is true, yes. Flex kicks off the draft season live in New York August 5th. I should know that off the top of my head by this point. But August 5th, live on SiriusXM as well. You and I will be covering the Superflex draft, and then we'll both be in the Snake draft. And interesting things. Of course, the managing this league, man. Like, I had to bump up the snake for 14 because I was out of it. Because, like, we got no's that turns into yeses. Anyway, point being, it's like all of a sudden we ended up with 13 and 12. I'm like, well, I'll just do the online one. I'll fill in a spot there. And then Jay made the great suggestion to bring in Alfredo Brown. So Alfredo Brown made it 14. But wait. Now somebody has to leave the city and like now can't make. So now we're back to 13 and 12.
13 and 12. Good luck, man.
You've
done a hell of a job over the years, but it can't be easy to manage that many people.
Because it has to be so specific. It has to be 24 people. The end.
Exactly.
Anyway, we're talking tight end sleepers. Well, not sleepers so much. The tight end position, ADP wise. There's a couple I have here. I have 6, if I can count off the screen. Yeah, 6 that I want to talk about. Actually, no. 5 was right because we already talked to Juwan Johnson on the last episode, which, by the way, you can go catch on YouTube or on the podcast networks of channels of whatever they are out there. But first at the top, you know how much I loved them last year. Great call. Nailed this one 100%. Pat Freiermuth. Air Feiermuth, as everybody knows I call him. The concern for him is not whether Kenny Pickett takes a step forward this year, because Kenny Pickett was, even as bad as he was, Freiermuth was fine. He was a top 10 tight end. It's the fact that Deontay Johnson was pretty terrible with Pickett, not catching a lot of his targets, not getting any touchdowns. But they also bring in Allen Robinson, who as of today, what do we call? I forget what it was. Oh no, that was the greatest rapport. That was what was that, Grap or Grop or Group or whatever it was, greatest rapport of all. I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
But also BSOL, best shape at least in a couple of years, not ever. But a couple of years. Looks great out of the slot.
Looks great out of the slot, yeah.
So you have Allen Robinson in the mix now with George Pickens likely to be ascending this year. Deontay Johnson bounce back. Like, there's not a lot when you talk about Nijan. I can't even talk this morning. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren out of the backfield. Is there enough for Freiermuth to repeat? First question. And to shotgun you, which we're not supposed to do in the business, but I'm doing anyway, meaning because I know you can handle it, is will he repeat, and is there any ceiling to improve over last year with the structure of this team?
Yeah, it's tough, man. Like, I was looking this morning because I knew we were going to talk Pat, and I was taking a look at Pickett and just the pass attempts that he had, and I was trying to project how many pass attempts is this guy going to have? Like, how many people inside this offense can be, fantasy relevant? I mean, I love him as an athlete. I think he's fantastic, but I do believe that Pickens is going to take a step forward. I'm a big fan of him. Like, he's already made a few highlight reel catches. He just looks like he's going to be a star in the league. And then your boy Deontay, I mean, he's definitely going to get some touchdown luck this season, but he's a guy that gets a lot of targets. So then there's 2 wide receivers there. I don't fully believe in Allen Robinson. I mean, I've been down that road before. If it didn't work out last year with the Rams and Stafford and the way that they run their offense, now coming over to Pittsburgh and what I do believe will be a run-first offense, I just don't think there's going to be enough opportunity for him. But, I mean, what more can he build on? 98 targets, 63 grabs. He had 2 touchdowns. He had 7 as a rookie. Maybe he gets more touchdowns in the end zone. But I don't think that I think that there's room to grow for him overall as a player moving forward in the future. But I don't know about this year, about him being – like, that's fine. 60 grabs, 100 targets, 700 yards. I think that's fine. It's a top 10 tight end. I just don't know if he's going to be able to creep up past that. Like, I don't view him as like a 70 catch guy this year.
What about 70 catches on 100 targets, though? Let's just say Kenny Pickett actually puts balls more in place this year for everybody across the league.
And maybe a little hard on Pickett. I don't know. Like, he didn't have a game with over a passing touchdown.
I'm not going to argue for Pickett. I'm not going to argue. You know me.
I feel like I like him a little bit more than you, maybe from a fantasy standpoint. But again, it's such a small sample. He didn't have one game with 2
Here, I'll say
touchdowns.
one positive thing about Kenny Pickett. How about that?
Yeah,
he had the best fake slide of all time from a quarterback. That's there you
got.
Go. That's all I got.
That's not going to help you in the fantasy community.
No, it's not.
Big fan. I'm looking at the game log. Like, at the start of the season, it was great. Like 10 targets, 7, 4, 9. It was a new quarterback, right? 9 again, week 7, 7, 7, 12. And the quarterback change happened, and Pickens kind of excelled a little bit more inside the offense. And then the volume started to go down a bit. There's just one game from week 12 on where he had more than 3 grabs. And I don't know. He's fine. I just I don't really live in that. I'm not living in that range of Freiermuth and Evan Ingram. I'm kind of passing that tier.
Well, once I get into that tier, starting with Evan Ingram, and I would take Ingram over Freiermuth. Freiermuth's only at 9 for me this year, which is a downgrade from what he did last year, but because it's kind of the names in front of him. You have a healthy Darren Waller. You have Kyle Pitts bouncing back. So it's just more so the names in front of him. It's not like I hate Freiermuth. I actually love Air Freiermuth. People should know that by now.
Yeah, but good.
And what the problem is it comes down to when I said, if I'm in this tier, if I missed on the top 7, I'm waiting until the end game. Like, I'm not drafting.
Same.
Like, I won't have, unfortunately, as much as I think he's going to finish 8th, I'm not going to have Evan Ingram anywhere unless he falls into like the 10th, 11th round or something. But, same thing with Freiermuth. Unless they just precipitously drop, I'm just not going to have him because I'd rather just wait for like Cole Kmet or Okonkwo, who we love on this show, or even Dalton Schultz, which like people are like, Dalton Schultz stinks. I'm like, he might be the number 1 target for CJ Stroud.
Yeah,
Like,
and I don't think he stinks. I think he's pretty decent. I mean, he had a couple bonehead plays in the final game against the Niners where he didn't step out of bounds and he lost his footing or whatever, but he should be, I don't know, man, he may be the number 1 target in Houston this year. He may just be. I like Nico Collins. I believe in him. Robert Woods is there. John Mechie is there. They drafted a couple guys. Tank Dell, like, he just may be the number 1 option, and heck, he may be the number 1 option in the red zone.
As bad as it was, I wanted to double check to make sure I was right when I was about to say this. As bad as it was, in 15 games, because he was also hurt last year, do you know where Dalton Schultz finished at tight end?
Man, he had a decent finish. I'd say like 11 or 12.
Ninth.
And any missed time without Dak, and I think he was hurt twice. I think he was hurt a couple occasions.
Yeah. So he's coming off 3 straight seasons, 89 targets, 104, 89, 63, 78, and 57 in receptions. His reception rate stays pretty steady. So, point being, if he gets around 100 targets, even with Stroud, who's, by the way, Stroud of the 3 big rookies, is the best pocket passer of the 3, is the most 100%. On point of the 3 target-wise. The realistic expectations of getting 70, 75% of his receptions, I think is like that. We should be banking that in. So if you're going to say 100 targets for Schultz, you should be 70, 75 on the reception yards, reception basis, which makes the yards 750-ish, which makes you're just simple math it out here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have a lot of Schultz, I feel like, because he'll be the one that does slide, where I would rather wait to like the last round, but he's going to be sitting there in one of the last rounds anyway.
Exactly. 89 targets last year, 15 games. So that was 7th among tight ends. I mean, you got Ingram and Pat Freiermuth at 99, but of course they played an extra game. So yeah, he's going there as the veteran player in this offense. I know Robert Woods is, but he is.
I'm gonna have 0. I don't want Robert Woods.
I'm not Robert. I know he's just gonna be on the field. Like he's
What's
just
the
like
upside?
It's a Fitbit check. He's just on the field all the time. He's blocking. He's a good player, but there's no ceiling for Robert Woods.
Marvin Jones, Robert Woods, Randall Cobb before them. Like, what's the guys you find on waivers every single week? Like, hey, look, it's week 7. Do you want to pick up Robert Woods?
Exactly. Man, Singletary had a lot of really nice things. And I know these guys are going to talk up some of these rookie quarterbacks. They're going to say positive things. They're not going to say negative things. But he did. I saw it earlier in the week. He talked about like how poised already. He just doesn't seem like a rookie quarterback. And I know he was around in Buffalo when Allen was coming in too. So he does have a little bit of a say there when it comes to young quarterbacks and how they carry themselves. But man, I believe in Stroud. I still think to this day he should have been the number 1 pick for Frank Reich and the Carolina Panthers. But yeah, he's going to be accurate, and Schultz is going to be consistently targeted in this offense. I've seen him fall outside the top 12. It's not bad, man. Not a bad
top 12.
target.
I'll definitely, because at that point, like I said, that point you're talking 10th, 11th round. So let's talk somebody who's going in front of him. And in some drafts, not all, because it depends on the experience level, how in tune people are during the offseason. But this is one that we brought up on the SiriusXM show. This is one that we brought up on here. Is one of my biggest statements is always don't buy all the risk. Part of buying all the risk comes down to we talk guys up so much. It happens. We talk so many people up on this show, other shows that you might read or listen to, and there you go. The one that's kind of headed in that direction right now at tight end is Mr. Chigoziem Okonkwu. The most probably fun name to say at tight end because the numbers are off the charts. Top 5 in a lot of metrics. Top 5 in yards per route run, yards at the catch, like all these type of things. Like one of the better athletic scores for his size. Great option. Here's the issue of the downside of it. There's twofold. There's one, it was a little bit like Kadarius Toney, where you talk about how much he was targeted, but let's talk about how much he was actually on the field. It's kind of the Kadarius Toney effect where when he was on the field, a lot of things came his way. Does that mean he's going to continue to be the number 1 or 2 option? And being on the field 80% of the time means this is rocket to the moon. We're going for it. Buy your GameStop stocks. Let's do it. Or is, even if that happens, Still the Titans offense, still Derrick Henry-led offense, and then the passing game. Still has Treylon Burks to deal with. Still has everybody talking up Kyle Phillips, like somebody else in the Tyreek Hill at quarterback, maybe Will Levis at some point. All that's being said is like, you can still talk him down, should still, if conceivably everything goes as planned, should still be a tight end 1. He should still be tight end 9, 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there. But because of the ceiling potential, that he's going to get outdrafted. Like by the time we get to the middle of August, Okonkwo is going to be going around Evan Ingram. And if you had to say as of today, would you take Ingram over Okonkwo every single time, Meaney? Because I would. 10 times out of 10, I would still take Ingram.
Yeah, Ingram had such a really good season last year. I'm slightly worried the fact that they do bring in Calvin Ridley there, and now there's a lot of mouths to feed, but I think the ceiling does belong with Evan Ingram. We've seen him do it a couple times. You see him in that rookie season with the Giants when he was just the only guy there, and then a nice bounce back season. A change of scenery, good play calling, good head coach, good quarterback. So I would lean with him too. I am worried that Okonkwo is going to continue to rise up draft boards. As of now, he is like an automatic pick for me outside after, again, this range we're kind of talking about, I do like to live in this range. If Njoku and Schultz do go, I'm thinking about Okonkwo. You kind of just, you alluded to it, but just like hammer this home again. I mean, it's a very small sample size, but 2.61 yards per route run was the best mark among tight ends. Again, small sample size, but Travis Kelce had 2.23 to put that into perspective. 7.8 yards after the catch. It was tied for first. 14.1 yards per reception. That was number 1. He's not going to be on the field to block. Treylon Burks is really the only competition on this team for targets, and he was starting to get used down the stretch. Like I sat there and watched, and I've gotten mostly because I needed to hammer home the name, but sitting there and watching the film on this guy, it's like highlight reel play after highlight reel play. Like, he is explosive after the catch. He's a big body that can go up and get it, and he's pretty speedy, man. Like, he's a good tight end, and I am definitely buying it.
Well, then let me flip it around, because you just might have made the counter argument against me and said, like, well, let's look at it this way. Ingram just came off about 100 targets. Can he really go up from there with the addition of Calvin Ridley?
Probably not.
And then say, what if Okonkwo gets 100? Like, he surpasses Ingram. So maybe the argument against Ingram is 10 times out of 10. It should be 0 times out of 10. It should be Okonkwo. The problem with Okonkwo should be, let's chill out and not push him into the 7th round.
Right. Yeah. If he continues to rise up and if he's in that range, then he's probably going to be overdrafted. But as of right now, the fact that you're getting him, several picks later on at the position, and I think you're just shooting for upside at that point, breakout targets, red zone opportunity. It should be all there. Again, looking 5 targets and 40 yards is something that he did kind of consistently in the second half of the season. 5 targets doesn't seem like a whole lot. Let's average that out. 5, 17, it's 85 targets. It's like, that's doable, man. Like that's borderline top 10. And if he just gets 5 targets, that's it. Just 5.
Even if he does 85% of what he did last year on a per target basis. That's
right.
Really okay. 2 more quickly before we get out of here. Shout out for shout out everybody in Scott Fishbowl for what it does for charity and everything like that. But hell no, and no chance in hell. I don't know how many times I have to say hell to say this. Am I playing in that damn league? I was in it for years. I dropped out last year and gave away on this show, I gave away my entry because everybody out there, I say this all the time, play however you want. If you want 17 kicker spots, be my guest. I'm never playing in a league with kickers. I played in one time because I didn't realize it until the draft, and I had my kicker spot empty the entire year. Won the championship.
Still won.
It's on record. Won the championship without a kicker the entire season. I will not do it. It is the dumbest thing in the world. But if you like it, go ahead and play it. But hell, if I'm going to play in a league that's whatever scoring he pulled out of his ass. I love you, Scott Fish, but I don't know what the hell we're doing with this tight end double premium. If he has 6'5" or taller, he gets bonus points on a Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. And the sun is shining in the opposite direction of the kicker, but he kicks into 5-degree wind or whatever. Like, shut up, dude. I don't even know what your scoring is. Like, I love you. It's still fun. Congratulations to whoever might win the league. But no, I'm not going to pull out my abacus to figure out what the flip you did with kickers to try and make them as valuable as quarterbacks. It's the stupidest thing ever. It is the dumbest league ever. But I hope everybody has fun playing it. The 2 tight ends before we get out of here. We're already out of time for that. I did want to talk my favorite late target, and then the other one, which I think is just a dart throw on deeper leagues. But real quick before we get out of here, I've already mentioned him a bunch. Tyler Higbee. I love some Tyler Higbee. He was the guy last year. Obviously, Cooper Kupp got hurt halfway through the season, but He's number 2. Like, we talk about all these tight ends like Kelsey and Wooler and all these ones down the list. Okonkwo we just did of like who is the 1 or 2 on this team. Tyler Higbee is the 1 or 2, and he's going to have healthy Stafford back. Tyler Higbee just came off 100 targets. He could easily walk into 110 plus this year. Yeah. All the Tyler Higbee. And then the other one is, if he finally is healthy, Chris Meaney, finally, is there enough to go around in Cincinnati for Irv Smith to finally have a season?
I see Irv Smith rising up draft boards. He's been one of the guys that I've kept my eye on, just looking at risers and followers over at Underdog Fantasy. And I've seen Irv Smith now kind of creep inside just like the top 20 overall. Higbee, I'm not going to argue with you. Top 5 in targets, top 5 in receptions last year. Definitely the number 2 on a team looking for a number 2 option in the passing game. Like, they have a lot of question marks, and they had there was a bunch of opportunities for like Atwell and Van Jefferson to kind of step up and be that number 2. And I don't think any of them really took that job. So Higbee for sure. And man, Irv Smith is very, very talented. Very, very talented. You mentioned it. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. Now he moves over to a really good offense, like a really good offense where we saw some moments from like Hayden Hurst and really probably the 3rd option, let's be honest, at best, but a red zone option and a lot of one-on-one in his game too. I don't mind taking a shot at him. We're talking about these random leagues, the 2 tight ends, deeper leagues, deeper formats. He's somebody to consider.
Oh, I hate tight end premium almost as much as I hate kickers. There's an article on the Athletic. You can go read it. Well, because it only... Oh, yeah. Don't get me started on that one either. But it just artificially inflates the top 6 or 7. Like, it doesn't actually benefit the position. It actually just makes the importance of getting one of those guys even more, which just kind of like, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to like... So give it to yards if you want, like, and that's at least not the reception-wise side of it. But anyway, I like.
Before we get out of here, let me give some love to Circa Las Vegas. Just check circalasvegas.com for all the information. They want to bring you and your entire league over to Vegas for a draft, 2-night stay at Circa. Have your draft at Stadium Swim plus multiple parties for you. It's like $8,000 in terms of the prize package. They'll pick you up from the airport, limo. They'll take care of you. So check out circalasvegas.com. See a lot of people hanging out. No excuse. Why not? I mean, this is all taken care of. Just go over there and sign up and see if you win.
Draft 3 kickers and tight ends and do whatever the hell you want. How tall is Hayden Hurst and Irv Smith, by the way?
I don't know if they'd reach the 6'5" threshold with the bonus points. I'm not sure Irv Smith gets there. I think he's like just under
figure out the degree of the incline of the saddle or the stadium on the hill that it sits on, wherever these places are or whatever. I don't know. I'll have my lawyer look over the Scott Fishbowl rules and decide whether or not I want to try and get back in next year.
Yeah,
I can't read through that.
It's a mouthful. For sure.
It's not a mouthful. Chris Meaney at Chris Meaney. I'm at All Kid. Code All In over at FTN and go to the Athletic. Check out the draft kit, and I think it's still only $2 a month. I think it's like 50 cents a week or whatever you want to call it. I know. Just like getting Kelsey at 101 and Scott Fishbowl. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.